And then I can share my screen?
And then you can share your screen. Yes.
Okie
Welcome
dokie.
everybody to webinar number 3 for year 2. We are going to hear from Carmen Redding at the North Dakota State Library today, which I'm so excited for because it's just been so enlightening to learn all about what the different state libraries are offering. So we've wrapped up our leadership and collaboration course. We are kicking off the OER framework in-depth course, and that starts next Wednesday. However, it is posted, as you can see here, and so if you feel like starting, feel free. I'm going to send an email out after this tonight. And we are gearing up for TIE Conference in April. And so as you guys are thinking about TIE Conference, I will send out a code for you to register, but you will need to make your own hotel reservations. And so I will send out the conference hotels when we get that. Other things are, I did put in a proposal for the TIE Conference for a panel on community partnerships and your school library, because I was hopeful that we have lots of really awesome examples and ideas. And so if anybody would like to be part of that, that would be super fun, just because it's a great way to bring all of our expertise together. All right, so all the resources are at tie.net/library, and we should have that all linked up. And Carmen is going to show us all the great things at North Dakota. So I'm going to stop sharing, Carmen, and you can go ahead and start sharing, okay?
Okay. It's like, okay, which one do I? Probably doesn't. Okay. So hi everyone, I am the School and Youth Services Specialist for the North Dakota State Library. My time is divided between school and public libraries, but my heart is with the school libraries. I would like to share what our state library has to offer our residents, and you probably noticed in the hyperdocs that I put the word accessible by the materials that South Dakota and Wyoming librarians can see in its entirety. So first is the home page of our website, and at some point our website is going to be redone, but the date of that is still pending, and I know South Dakota can relate to that monumental task. So you'll notice that there is a search bar at the very top right, and you can either search our catalog, our online catalog, or you can search our website depending on which drop-down menu you use. And then there are 6 gray tabs across the top. Below that, we have a carousel, and that carousel advertises specific topics depending on the activities and the events that are coming up with the state library. And to the right of that, our marketing specialist puts out a bunch of tweets. At the very bottom here are some icons, the first being a calendar, and then the rest social media icons. Obviously our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, history pin. It's really fun. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Pinterest. The North Dakota Flickr account is going away. This is our field blog, and then Twitter. So one of the most appropriate tabs tonight is the Services for Libraries and Education. So the alphabetical list highlights specific topics, and I'm going to talk briefly about a few of them. One service that I think might be unique, and I could be wrong, is our cataloging services. On the HyperDoc, let me see if I can get my, okay, get this to move up. The state library, and I think this was at the time when we wanted school libraries to become automated. So we offered the ability to get all of a school's holdings online, and we did that through the Online Dakota Information Network that we call ODIN, good Scandinavian God for North Dakota. And so all of those holdings are added to WorldCat. What that does is it makes all of those resources available to anybody that wants to borrow them. So that is one of the agreements. If a library wanted the state library to go ahead and do all the automation for them, they wound up with a system called Odin, and from there, with it being available on WorldCat, now it's accessible to anyone, and so they had to be willing to share, which I thought is pretty great. Our digital initiatives, I'm going to show you that next. I mentioned earlier that I wrote accessible by some of these. The information here on the digital initiative page, all of these are accessible anytime, anywhere. So you do not need any kind of North Dakota IP address. You can access them anytime. And all of those links are in that HyperDoc as well. So we are going to talk a little bit about these in just a few minutes. But North Dakota did not start their digital preservation until 2012, where they actually set up a department and started doing it formally. In talking about grants, the school library offers, or the state library rather, offers several grants, and we get money allocated to the state library by the legislature every biennium, barring a financial catastrophe, and we use these monies for what we call library vision grants. These grants can be awarded to school, public, or academic libraries. However, non-public entities cannot apply, which means parochial schools and parochial universities are not eligible. And I believe it was probably the Attorney General that made that ruling a few years back. So we've offered grants for collection development, STEM, makerspaces, computers, partnerships, and that's a big one right now is our partnership grants, remodeling, book drops, infrastructure, etc. So North Dakota teachers, please pay attention to the state library newsletter called the Flicker Tale, because that's where we make our grant announcements. Also visit the page here so you can go to the grants and click on that and you'll find out information there as well. You know, you're going to get $1,000 to $2,000 for collection development. That's certainly better than nothing. It's not going to buy you a whole lot, but if your budget is like $500, which some schools have, that's going to look pretty great. There is another grant that teachers probably aren't aware of, and that is the LMIS grant. And I'll just open this and show you. Every year, the state library, and I believe all state libraries do this, I might be wrong, but ALA and I think LSTA, they partner and they provide $8,500 for you to go and get your master's in library science. So some years there aren't very many applicants at all. I applied a year and a half ago and I was able to get that grant, and it has sure come in handy for me. So there's a form that you have to fill out, and you have to go to an ALA accredited program, through an ALA accredited program, however. So that's pretty nice. We also have Kit Keeper, and I know Wyoming also has Kit Keeper. I think you added it recently, Christy. I don't know if it's been too long that you've had it. We're not able to hear you.
Sorry. I think the last few years is when I started hearing about it. I don't know how long it has been in place. But
Okay. Yeah, we've had it for quite a while. Yeah, long before I came. And I think the web application is a little clunky to use, at least initially, but it has some nice features. Teachers can reserve kits up to a year in advance. And the state library, the North Dakota State Library requires that a state librarian, or not a state librarian, a school librarian or a public librarian do the ordering. So we want to work through the library. Once the librarian gets the kits, it's up to them how they want to share them. If they want them to be used in the library, or if they want to allow them to go out to the classroom, that's entirely up to them. Now, some obviously have to go out. The state library right now has a total of 198 kits. The largest percentage is book kits, but we also have some display kits. We have a couple dinosaur kits, and we have 53 STEM kits. So that's been a very popular addition the last 2 years. Those STEM kits are out constantly, and it's set up so if you order the Sphero kit, for example, you get 6 Spheros in your kit, and we have a total of 3 of those, so we have 18 Spheros, but you're not left with just one. You get multiples, which really helps. Just in December, we started LibGuides, and so we're in the process of building that. My goal is to develop a handbook for school librarians that's going to be a one-stop shop for information on credentialing, renewals, standards, ALA policy documents, policy document samples, and so on. So at the top of the hyperdocs, I have my email. If you have suggestions as to what you would like to see in there, please email me. And our LibGuides are published. So just like South Dakota's, this means anyone can look at them. So here on the services page, here is our icon right now that we're using for LibGuides, and there's the link. Let me see how time is here. Okay. The state library has 3 different newsletters. We send out Flickertail, which is the state library newsletter. Anyone can access that. We send out Connections, which is a state employee newsletter, and also information for the public. And then Discovery is the newsletter that's sent out by the Talking Books department. So those are the 3 newsletters. And we have, excuse me, several PDF publications. Again, this is more for the public library. Up until 2 years ago, there was no state representative for schools at all. And so everything that's been built was really built around the public library spectrum. And we're trying to make that change. Our online catalog, let me see here. That's not what I wanted. There. We just changed to Polaris. That is our new automation system. So for anybody that is in the state of North Dakota and goes to check on ILL information or whatever, you are going to see a new picture here when you go. We used to have Olive, and we were all the Odin. This is also part of an Odin initiative. So all the Odin libraries, the state libraries, the academic libraries, all of them were the same, and we were Olive. Now the academics is going to Alma, and we went to Polaris. Okay. Moving on. So I believe every state has their talking books, and we do as well. Talking books changed their name. They used to be billed as a service for the blind and physically disabled patrons. Now they have it so it is for the blind and print disabled. So it's not a resource that's used a lot in the schools, but if you have any students who are hard, have any kind of vision issues or cerebral palsy or anything that does not allow them to hold a book, they are good applicants for the talking books. Training for librarians in education. We have a bunch of webinars. We have, like I said, our YouTube. We've got the ability to go out and do training for staff. In the spring, we have what we call our Renewal and Development Conference. It's held in Bismarck, and it's for school and public librarians. In the summer, we have a research methods class, which is also available to school librarians or any teachers. So those are our training. Let me see. I've got these pictures here that I'm going to move them over, then I can get to my scroll bar. There's vendor support as well. It's not anything too earth-shaking, but, and now I've got my pictures in the wrong place again, but there are support from our vendors, and some of them have better information than others. The Britannica actually gives you training materials, promotional materials. You can check on this, and here I need to download, I guess. And then they explain everything by using clipped images, and it explains how to go ahead and use that resource. So that is something that is useful, particularly for those librarians that are coming in and this is something new that they are doing. Moving on to the databases. Okay. I don't particularly like the way this is set up, but that's not my choice, and so I just go with it. But it is, it's divided into categories, which make sense to some degree, but I think it also might make people skip things that might actually work for them. For example, if you're a teacher and you think that everything for you is right here, that's not really true. So I guess, you know, here's consumer health complete. To me, that should be down here in the students and with the teacher stuff. But anyway, general research, this is directed more toward, again, public libraries, but WorldCats also. I use that a lot in the school setting. So, you know, the way they chose to do it is the way they chose to do it. So one thing, when I go back up to the top of the page, you'll see this right here, Odin Databases. So if I click on that, here is where all of the databases are in alphabetical order. And this is what I prefer to use. And so I have that option. I can go and use that if I'd like, or not. I can use the State Library webpage. One thing that I found, though, is by limiting what they put on our page, users are not aware that maybe other things exist. For example, the Academic Search Premier is an EBSCO hosted database. However, the state library in the state of North Dakota also can search from any of these. But because of the way it's set up, you don't realize that this is available. I don't know. So it's a conversation I'm continuing to have. At the bottom of the page, here I want to show you, I'm going to move into the social media pins here, and I'm going to show you History Pin. Have any of you heard of this? I just learned about it because I was setting up this. Presentation, and let me see. I opened up, okay, here it is. So it is a web-based app, and the North Dakota State Library, actually it was one of our library development people, Trevor Martinson, that put this together. So he's dumping our digital collections, some of it, into this history pin, which I think is really wonderful for teachers. And what is nice about this is it's social media based, so people can comment, they can like, that type of thing. It's also tied to Google Maps. So let me see here. If I go to collections, and I'm not, I I should have spent more time here. I'm going to just open this once and see if it works. What you can do is tie it to Google, and now you see what it looks like now. Or you can see what it looked like many years ago. So I think it's, yeah, it was just something like, wow, that's really neat. It would be fun to check that out and to show history teachers. So I thought that was pretty exciting. I also have links here so you can actually go to the History Pin app itself. And then there's an article done in Field Notes, which is our blog, about it as well. Okay, Digital Horizons. That is what North Dakota calls their collection, their digital collection. And so, like I said, we're relatively new. However, we've put a lot of information together, digitized it, but I am going to show you. So I was going through here, and here is North Dakota Atlases and the Platte books from the North Dakota State Library. So I opened this up, and then you can browse the collection. And I went through until I found the township where I grew up as a kid. So I grew up in Tapman Township, and I click on this, and I go to page 12. And there's Tapman Township, and here is Lynch Emanuel Lutheran Church. This is where the Minot Air Force Base is right now. It goes right around kind of the back of Lynch Emanuel Church and down here. This is Highway 80, well, this is right here is Highway 83, which goes all the way up into Canada. This is a graveled road that I live 3 miles straight east of the Air Force Base, and so here is C.T. Matson. Here's C.L. Matson, which was my grandfather, and then this was a road going north, and Harold Matson. And what's interesting is they spelled their name with 2 T's, and at some point we dropped a T. So when my father was growing up, he never realized that his name from Sweden was spelled with 2 T's. So we never connected with any relatives until after my parents died, and some Matsons in Wisconsin did genealogy, and they contacted us and said, you're our relatives. But on this map, it's got 2 T's. So it's like bizarre. This was 1910, I think. My father was born in 1909. Yeah. How could the atlases have 2 T's and we not realize it? You know, he was only a year old, but you know, my father's mother lived into her 90s, so I mean, I knew her, but she spelled her name with 1 T. I don't know. It's interesting and really cool. So that's something that I think kids should, have fun trying to use. So the Digital Public Library of America, DPLA, is another resource for teachers. And again, this is open to everybody, so it's not something just North Dakota residents can use. So this is their guides, where they have education guides, so you can go through that. Here is their primary source sets, and this is what I linked to for your apply assignment. And you can just scroll through this. Here's immigration through Angel Island. Angel Island is Ellis Island. It was just the name that they gave it. But look at fake news in the 1890s, yellow journalism. So this is a really cool site that I hope you share with your teachers. Moving on, let me see, we're a little after 6. Okay, North Dakota also became part of Big Sky Country Digital Network. So this is Montana and North Dakota partnership. And so these are collections that North Dakota and Montana have put together. And they are all compiled under these headings. So I find that this would be very, very informative too for genealogy and history and learning more about the Native Americans in this area. Let me see. Okay, I know that either South Dakota or Wyoming has Niche Academy. This is our curated academy, so this is not accessible by anybody except North Dakota people, but there's many, many tutorials. You can find out how Academic Search Premier works. There's just a whole bunch of courses you can take, and it's really being developed. So we're just kind of digging our feet in and trying to see what we can do with it. Universal Class, it seems like one of either Wyoming or South Dakota has Universal Class. I'm not sure which one of you. But there are over 500 classes. And we no longer have Tutor ND. So if students are looking for online help in different subject areas, they would wind up having to take a course like another math course or a writing skills course or whatever, wherever their weaknesses are, but there are training opportunities. And there's 45 online courses for homeschooling. So we've really been getting a lot of public interest from that database as well. Ancestry, this can only be used in the public library or in school libraries or at the state library. So consequently, I'm doing this from work today so I could open it up. I spent a little bit of time a couple summers ago going in and seeing if I could find information again on my family. And so I started with birth, marriage, and death records. I put in my mother's name. And at one point when I opened up documents, my grandmother's name my mother's mother was misspelled. And I was trying to figure out why that was. But when I went in and looked at these primary source documents, it was obvious. You couldn't read the writing. So this is all that I put in, and I did a search. And here is the information about my mother's birth records and baptism and that type of thing. And it was recorded in the U.S. Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. So, I mean, it's just, it is so interesting. So, Ancestry, you can get lost in there for a long time. Ben's Guide, this is free for everybody. If you aren't familiar with Ben's Guide, go online, check it out. The link is in the hyperdocs, but your elementary history classroom teachers are going to be interested in this. They have it divided up into ages 4 through 8, 9 through 13, and then 14 plus. So there's a lot of information there. If we were to open, let's open ages 9 through 13. So we're talking like 4th grade. Here's some of the information that they give. So again, this is, you know, it's really the tip of the iceberg. You have to spend a little bit of time finding your way around, but Ben's Guide is a pretty great resource too. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up what I was going to show you. So we are, okay, we're just a little after 6. I thought I was going to be taking more time, but I didn't.
Oh, this is amazing, Carmen. I am so excited by all the things that we can go and check out, and also, and I'm really glad you added, you know, what we can access and what we can't access. So that makes it easy to go exploring. But I'm loving that you have the plats, the North Dakota plats scanned and everything. That's exciting. I'm gonna have to go check those out. So
yeah, and there's the blue books. There are, I think, 32 blue books. They started collecting information, and there was quite a span of years between when they published them. And then in 1995, they started publishing them every biennium. But I started going through those blue books, and it's got political parties, you know, the National Partisan League of Republicans in 1907. And I mean, you know, it's just interesting. And it says that you are able to access information in those blue books that is pretty difficult to find in other places. So that's another nice resource for teachers.
that is a great resource. And I know South Dakota has scanned theirs in, or they're working on scanning theirs in too. So, I mean, it's just when it's so fun to be able to learn about this, because I've you know looked on North Dakota State Library, but I didn't know all of this. So this has been wonderful. All right, so I'm going to take over. So
Okay.
I'm going to.
I will get rid of sharing.
Okay.
Let me see. Okay, got to move my picture so I can get to the. Oh, where did it go?
I got you. You're fine.
Okay, good.
All right. So this is the last of the state library webinars that we're going to have. The next webinar is going to be February 20th, and that's going to kind of be a reflect and prepare for TIE and just kind of that professional development type of thing. Do know that all our webinar series 2 requirements are due on March 30th. So as you're looking at that, so if you're doing this for the graduate credit, you will want to make sure you do your final project, which is select an option to complete about your state library, and then also share and discuss information you discover with your colleagues in a post or posts on the Reaching Out Facebook group. I mentioned earlier, online course 4 starts next Wednesday. I'll send out an email tonight. It is posted. TIE conference is April 19th to the 21st in Sioux Falls. Registration will be paid for, and I will send you a code to waive any fees. You will need to make your own hotel reservations. Next webinar is February 20th, and I'm so excited. Face to Face is in Bismarck in June, and Joan and I worked over Christmas, and so I'm excited because we're inviting some fun guest speakers to come talk to us, and so we're all getting excited about that. The June 9th and 10th Face to Face, we will do hotel reservations for you, and we'll give you a travel stipend, and there will be lunches provided both the 9th and the 10th. One thing to great question, Becky. I'll get to you. One thing to think about with the 9th and the 10th is I will need to get your hotel needs at the TIE conference, because we have to turn them in early May, late April, early May. So I will be asking you, so make sure you kind of start thinking about that. We will have a hotel room for the night of the 8th, and the night of the 9th will be what we provide. So if you should look for a close hotel at the TIE conference, the TIE conference is in Sioux Falls at the convention center, and so the Sheraton is the closest hotel, but there are a number of hotels around that too. That there's a new one, I think it's a Holiday Inn Express across the street, and then there's a Ramada or a Dakota across the street. So they're all, they're fine. We generally do, like, rates we work with the hotel to get rates, and I'm not sure, they haven't been posted yet, and I keep forgetting to ask when people are at work. I thought about it after 4 today and they were gone, so I will but I'll ask and see if I can get that out to you guys early. And yes, Joan, I know, I can't believe we're talking about year 3 either. It seems like we just started yesterday, so exciting. Well, that is everything I think we have for today. Joan, do you have anything else you want to mention?
No, thank you. And thank you for doing all the talking due to my laryngitis.
She was going to whisper yell at us.
Sorry.
No. Oh, it's 'tis the season. All righty. Well, thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of the week, and we will chat you up again in February. We will also see you at TIE conference, and look forward to assignments from the OER framework in depth course. So,
Thank you.
all right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.